Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny, and we're here in final prediction mode for a very intriguing domestic clash this Saturday night in Glasgow as Willy Hutchinson faces Mark Jeffers in the light heavyweight division. Yeah, very intriguing one this one, so we'll be giving our thoughts on who we think is going to win this. But before we do, please don't forget, drop a like on the video first of all. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not doing so already, and follow us on all social media. Danny, yeah, I hope you're well. First of all, let's jump straight into it. No messing about. Willie Hutchinson, Mark Jeffers. What's your final predictions for this domestic dust-up?
Yeah, really looking forward to this one. I think Willie Hutchinson will win the fight. I think this is a really tough first assignment for Mark Jeffers coming off that loss to Sean Hempel. It's a tough fight too for Willie Hutchinson. It's his first fight, I didn't realise, since the Josh Shibuatse defeat, which will be over a year since that fight took place. However, you look at Josh Shibuatse in comparison to Sean Hempel, and it's light years difference. And stylistically, you look at the aspects of Sean Hempel's game. I was actually at his last fight against Ty Mitchell where he lost, so it's not a defeat that's aged well for Mark Jeffers, and he's a bit negative, good on the back foot, good long limbs, long levers, and I just thought there's not really anything that Willie Hutchinson doesn't do better than Sean Hempel. I think Willie Hutchinson's actually a really naturally talented fighter. It shouldn't be forgotten that he did have success against Josh Buatsi. It was just Buatsi's power and physical strength and the well-roundedness of his attacks that caused him problem. And whilst I've always rated Mark Jeffers and still do, I'm not one to write a fighter off after one loss. This is a really tough assignment, up in weight, off your first career defeat, and I fancy Willie Hutchinson to get the job done on points.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree, as you said, and the first thing that came to kind of my mind in this is that Sean Hempel loss hasn't aged well. I did watch the fight against Ty Mitchell, and it just proves that kind of, as you say, it didn't age great. But yeah, I just think Willie Hutchinson has kind of more tools to his bow, as they say, than Mark Jeffers. I do like Willie Hutchinson as well. I think he's a really solid fighter. I like his kind of variety. Technically solid enough, although he can be a bit defensively sloppy at times. But I just think he may be a couple of levels above Mark Jeffers here. He has proved, as you say, he had success against Joshua Buatsi. He only lost, I believe, it was a split decision that fight. So, he did have success. Craig Richards fight, getting it done there. And yeah, I just think he's gonna have too much for Mark Jeffers. I'll go for a points win. I'll go for a Willie Hutchinson points win in this one. I'd be surprised, to be honest with you, if Jeffers beats Hutchinson here. I really would. I just think, yeah, I'm a big fan of Willie Hutchinson. Maybe he's not the most likable bloke in boxing, but he's a talented fighter. Yeah, so I'm going for a points win for Hutchinson in this one. So yeah, we're both in agreement. Willie Hutchinson gets it done. Just before we kind of wrap up, you know. I want to throw a name at you. I'm not going to say kind of can Willie Hutchinson win world titles, but I'm going to throw a name at you and see how you think he gets on. Talking about the voice of characters that Willie Hutchinson could be. Another one is Ben Whitaker. If that fight was to happen, I know they're talking about Ben Whitaker headlining before the end of the year. If he was to face Willie Hutchinson, who would you see coming out on top in that one?
Yeah, it's a great potential fight. It would be a pretty sizable step up for Ben Whitaker. I think you have to say that, going from Liam Cameron to Willie Hutchinson. However, it's one prior to what we might see in the Mark Jeffers fight for Willie Hutchinson. I would favour Ben Whitaker in. I don't think Willie's the style to cause Ben Whitaker problems, although I think there are probably fighters you would say who are around Willie Hutchinson's level who you would give a good chance of causing Ben Whitaker some issues. However, I'm not sure Willie Hutchinson's one of them. I think a lot of what he does well, Ben Whitaker would be able to negate. Ben Whitaker is not spoken about enough, a massive light heavyweight, very long arms, and the way Willie likes to sort of pot shot from the outside, I don't think would work against Ben Whitaker. I think you got to get up close and personal, make it into more of a dog fight. And I don't think Willie Hutchinson necessarily has the attributes for that. A fight I would like to see, and maybe one with a potentially more favourable outcome for Willie Hutchinson, is the winner of the European title fight between Lyndon Arthur and Brad Ray. I think that'd be a really interesting matchup. I think no matter who wins that fight, to me, that'll be a close to a 50-50 fight, maybe make Hutchinson the slight favourite. I think if you're managing Willie Hutchinson's long-term interest, that's a route I'd look to go down, although I'm sure there'd be a fair amount more money and obviously accolades available for a Ben Whittaker fight.
Yeah, so like on the Whitaker fight, I do agree. I think it would be an interesting step up. Whitaker, I know he said a lot of wrongs right the last time against Liam Cameron in that rematch, but Willie Hutchinson is definitely a step up. As good as he looked against Cameron, he is a step up again, but I do think Ben Whitaker is again. I think he's a level above Willie Hutchinson. And I think he would prove it that in that fight if it was to happen. But yeah, it's another good option, as you say, the winner of the European title fight between Arthur and Brad Ray. That actually, now you say it, that's probably more appealing. That sounds more appealing to me as a potential option for Willie Hutchinson. So you think Hutchinson would get it done against either of them, do you?
I think so, unless I see something pretty dramatic in that fight in terms of a one-sided victory for one of them, which I don't see. I think that'll be a really close competitive fight. I'm actually not sure which way that would go, but Lyndon Arthur, you think probably not coming towards the end, but certainly at his age, not at his absolute peak. And Brad Ray, very solid fighter, punches hard, has found his home at light heavyweight. I think the fluidity of Hutchinson would cause him problems, but by no means a foregone conclusion against either of them for Hutchinson. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree. Like thinking of it now, obviously not having given it too much thought before this call, but I probably would have to just edge Willie Hutchinson against the winner. But yeah, fascinating options. Light heavyweight, very interesting domestically in the UK, obviously. So hopefully, these matchups can get made. But Willie Hutchinson has a tough test against Mark Jeffers to get past this weekend in Glasgow. A really intriguing domestic light heavyweight clash. So yeah, let us know what you think. Myself and Danny are both going for a Willie Hutchinson win. Do you think are you on Team Jeffers? Let us know. Drop a comment, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not doing so already, and follow us on all social media. Danny, it was a pleasure. Take care.
Thanks, mate.